the Iranian regime's lifelong promise of death to Israel, the little Satan, and death to America, the big Satan, uh, taking a hit in recent days. Yeah, Iran, the biggest thing they've done since they came to power was October 7th, done through a proxy as they had been doing things up until about a year ago. When it comes to Israel, sending others to kill Jews, to chip away at the Jewish state until they can get to the point where they get rid of it. October 7th was their, like I said, their biggest success. And what very much looks like is going to be their downfall. Yeah, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about the steps that Israel has taken over the last 20 months to get to where it is, and before, to get to where it is today, to get to the fact that in a war that is now 3 days, we're 3 days into it. It very much looks like the only way that Israel doesn't achieve a great victory, maybe the biggest victory for any free country in a war since World War II, is diplomacy. Like diplomacy is the worst thing that can happen now. The idea of a diplomatic solution, i.e., the current fighting stops, and the regime that has been terrorizing the Middle East and beyond for half a century gets to live on. Welcome to the first daily objective of two today. I am Razzie Ginsburg. I'm joined by Daniel, Marco, Richard. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Richard, your thoughts on recent developments since yesterday's show?
Sure. Well, some of the key recent developments include things like the total air superiority across Iran that Israel has achieved, the fact that it claims to have destroyed a third of the missile launchers, including 20 overnight, which is constantly reducing the ability of Iran to strike Israel, even though we have, of course, seen some missiles make it through the Iron Dome and the defenses that Israel has. And of course, that is sad to see. But clearly, in the bigger scheme of things, the military strength is with Israel at the moment, and it's certainly not with Iran. And you're seeing that also with some of the Iranian people because they're fleeing many of the cities for rural areas. And there's apparently been lots of Iranians on social media mocking the Iranian leaders for the fact that they have repeatedly said that Israel would never dare attack Iran, using clips of them saying that, when clearly the opposite is now the case. And many of those leaders who said those remarks are no longer with us. Peace be upon the rest of us. So this is all good news, frankly, and of course, it's all heading in the right direction. But of course, it is war. It isn't pleasant. It was never going to be pleasant, but it is absolutely necessary.
Yeah, indeed. Another day, another ass-whooping session that Israel has imposed on the Iranian regime, the Islamic Republic of Iran. We've seen, as Richard pointed out, now the Israeli can easily fly up to Tehran with supremacy in the air. They control the ground. They're able to go through with minimum risk. So that's quite a slap in the face of the Islamic regime, to the Islamic regime. And it's also, again, history will show how 50 years of appeasement of Iran actually was done for nothing. All that Iran has been able to do is clearly been able to do it because we allow them to do. It's quite obvious now, because the moment we decide to turn back and say enough, bullies, shut up and go back to your corner, you see how long it took. Hezbollah were decimated in a few weeks. Hamas, okay, well, there's still bits of it around, but mostly it's been slapped down. The Houthis, well, again, we allow them too much freedom still to operate, but they could be taken out very easily. Even mighty Russia has been slapped in the face by Ukraine, the Ukrainians. So again, these big bullies, which have been certainly for the last 50 years, dictating the direction of travel, have been shown as being a paper tiger. And the might of Israel, the little Israel surrounded by all the savages, they were just able to go along. I mean, I say just, it's clearly a massive operation, down to the bravery and intelligence and productivity of the Israelis. But, they were able to slap down the regime. The regime that got so much bluster and propaganda across the world. It's clearly not much. They even took out the intelligence chief. I mean, talk about a brief he didn't get. I mean, this should becoming like a joke.
It's not a joke. It's the best television series in history. Yeah, this is better than 24 in that it's real life and the problem is being dealt with and it's the real problem. I had a point that I wanted to make, but I forgot. But somebody in the chat says only Donald can save the R I ran now. And yeah, that's true. And look, he talks like he wants to save them, but he also talks like he doesn't want to save them. So there's conflicting messages. And yeah, I'm good with that. If as long as this continues, I don't care what he puts out there. If he's trying to confuse the enemy and we are collateral damage and that we get confused as well, I'm good with that. Yeah, I care about the results here. Um, and yeah, Marco, you mentioned, the tiny Israel surrounded by all these savages. I remember on I think it was the 7 hour live stream when the war started, somebody says, "Oh, there's only a few million Jews and hundreds of millions of Arabs." And I said, "Yeah, how's that worked out so far? Because that has been the case since the Arabs decided that they want to kill all the Jews before the state of Israel even was established, and Israel has grown and flourished. The Arabs have stayed in the Middle Ages and Middle East, and yeah, Iran might be the first to leave the Middle Ages thanks to Israel. So yeah, Daniel.
So somebody in the chat said that Pakistan has said it will nuke Israel if they nuke Iran. Well, whether Israel has or has not any nuclear weapons, I'm not sure if there's any need to use them on Iran. Israel can take out Iran with conventional weapons easily, as we are seeing right now. So whether they do or do not have it, I don't think there is any need to use it. And if there was, I don't think it should take what Pakistan is saying as
Yeah,
this is
and
it.
are they going to mount it on a donkey? I don't know how Pakistan is going to deliver a nuclear bomb to Israel, but okay, they said, you know what?
Just pick it
Maybe,
up and bring it
Yeah.
over.
Put it in the post.
somebody
But
will
there's
open that letter. But anyway,
there's a few more sort of news. So apparently, Hadash, and Ra'am had tried to deliver a no confidence motion to Knesset, which was, of course, shut down. Very few people voted for it. It would mean that it would take out the government. So great to have, at the time of war, Israeli fifth column like fighting against the. By the way, those are Arab parties, just so.
yeah, I know this is the second time I interrupt you, and I try not to do that, but just for context, for people who don't know the political map in Israel, it's not just Arab parties. Hadash is the Communist Party. Ra'am Ta'al, one of them is the Arab Nationalist Party, and one is the Islamist Party. So they're all strongly pro-totalitarian. So yeah, they're really scared. These are parties that exist within the Israeli political system in order to get rid of the Jewish state, and their best hope was Iran. So yeah, that's not going well for them.
And then we also have we had this comment from Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz some time ago, or a few, I think, like half an hour ago. Basically, earlier he said that Tehran residents will pay the price, and now he's trying to sort of clarify that the reason why they are paying the price is because they are living under dictatorship, which is trying to crush them. So he sort of took back the idea that it's Israel that will sort of deliver them paying the price. But I think this statement still sort of stands. But I think it should be made more obvious that yeah, if Iranians do not stand up to the regime, they will suffer the consequences, and they are. Many of them are trying to flee Tehran. Many of them are trying to flee Iran. But the fact is that you have to stand up. There is at some point there is no longer an option to simply go away or simply trying to ignore what sort of system you have. And now is your best chance to actually do something about it. And we also have a Kremlin spokesman saying Russia is ready to accept Iran's uranium as a part of some sort of a deal, as a part of a resolution. So, yeah, I'm sure that's a great solution to this. And last thing, so more than 150 Israelis are stuck outside of Israel, but Ministry of Transportation has announced that they are working on getting them home. So yeah, that's some of the news, and y- y- and yeah, Israel is still acting on Tehran. I think there was another announcement that there is a full air superiority over Tehran. So yeah, Israel needs to continue doing whatever is necessary. And yeah, it looks like Israel is achieving many things, despite the fact that Iran is still able to launch ballistic missiles. We are getting to the point where many of them are failing to launch because Israel manages to shut them down or shoot down the sort of the vehicles before they even get a chance to launch. Iran doesn't really have a chance to aim. Many of them are simply going into empty fields, which of course reduces the stress of on David Sling. So Israel is continuing doing this, and hopefully we'll get to the point where will be less afraid of those coming, because I think there was I'm not sure if there was another one this morning. I have been getting messages like 3 hours ago. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but yeah, they are still coming, but Israel is handling it better, and at some point Iran will lose any sort of ability to do so, and Israel will be free to do whatever is necessary in Iran.
Yeah, I mean, we have to put it in the context of we knew this war was coming at some point, and we always assumed that it was Iran that's going to start it. And it really is the most impressive thing Netanyahu has ever done in his life. It's unfortunate that it comes after a career of things that are, have made him irredeemable. But yeah, this is impressive. And yeah, 3 days in, getting rid of a third of their launchers, which is all they have. All they have is the ability to kill Israeli civilians. And this is another thing. If you look at Israel now, I look at it compared to March of 2002, which was the worst month in Israel's history in terms of terrorist attacks, the number of them. They were almost daily. Um, and it was absolutely terrible. And I remember, by the way, I think it was around that time there was one of those terrorist attacks was in the morning, and Cherie Blair, the then prime minister's wife, had a meeting that morning with Queen Rania, the wife of the Jordanian dictator. And there was a terrorist attack, 20 people were murdered, and she was asked about it, and she said, well, as long as you have people with no hope other than to blow themselves up, you're never going to get anywhere, are you? So, blaming the Jews for the slaughter of the Jews is not a new thing. It didn't start on October 7th, as people like to say. Um, and yeah, compared to now, look, over the past 2.5 days, 24 Israelis have been killed, hundreds have been injured, many people have lost their homes, people are not working. And as far as I can tell from afar and from talking to people, oh yeah, and over 100,000 at the moment are stuck outside of Israel. That number is just going to rise because there were people who were not yet scheduled to come back, who aren't coming back. Um, but I think spirits are high because people understand in Israel that they have been living in an eternal emergency situation that is not completely going away, but Israel is going to be, again, if diplomacy doesn't ruin the success here, Israel is going to be the safest it has ever been in its history, ever. If it gets rid of Iran properly. Getting rid of Iran properly means getting rid of the regime. Doesn't mean necessarily regime change in the sense that you install a different regime. I don't know if that's necessary. In really in a sense, don't care. I mean, it would be sad, if there was an endless civil war, if there's, if the country splits up into different countries that some of which will be worse than the others. But that's not Israel's problem. Israel's problem is the threat, and the threat, once it's removed, if Iran, Israel needs to get to the point where Iran is what Syria is now, not in the sense of Al Qaeda being in leadership, but in the sense of Syria being 100% never, like in the foreseeable future, ever being a threat again. By the way, this also ties into Israel's amazing achievement of air superiority. It is in large part because they took care of Hezbollah, which led to the downfall of Syria, which opened this corridor of flying to Iran, and then having taken out the air defense systems, some of it in advance last year, some of it now, and there's a little left, I guess, sort of to in the eastern parts of Iran, but Israel is still managing to strike in the eastern parts of Iran. I mean, that air superiority is just something that means Israel can do anything pretty much. I mean, it even opens up the possibility. I don't know if this is going to happen or if they are going to try, but for ground operations potentially, if necessary, ground operations by the IDF. I'm not talking about the Mossad army that already exists in Iran. So, yeah, yeah, amazing news all around, despite the horrible news of people dying. We understand the context of what this could have been, even if this was a month from now. Another point just about the Tehran residents will pay the price, and then taking it back and saying they're suffering the consequences of their regime and are having to leave, which is true. We've seen traffic jams in one direction, out of Tehran. Th Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't see it really as taking the statement back more than clarifying what he means. But it is also, with the clarification, it's also more of a call to action, as in you will suffer, but you don't have to. You can, there will be some suffering anyway, but you can help mitigate it significantly and permanently by helping getting rid of the regime that has not just been threatening and attacking Israel for 46 years, but has been oppressing its own people. Yeah, so good things happening. Thank you, Jonathan, for another super chat. Richard.
Yeah, in terms of that air superiority and the reach that Israel now has, being able to reach as far as including this northeastern city of Mashhad, where they managed to destroy a refueling plane at the airport there. And that's a significant city. Not only is it an Eastern Shrine city, a place of some religious pilgrimage, but it's also the birthplace of al-Khamenei. So that's got to hurt, doesn't it? In fact, they can get out right over there, and of course he's now supposedly in a bunker with his family, and whatever remains of his advisors or close associates who aren't dead. And of course, I think what you were saying about what Israel has achieved so far in terms of all of those proxies that have been essentially the pet project of al-Khamenei across decades, to work out a way of spreading the attacks on the Jews from all these different sources, as you mentioned, Hezbollah and across Syria and from Yemen and stuff. Having removed all of those wider friends, if you like, as well as the immediate close associates, this is a part of Israel's achievement and part of why it's reached the state it has at the moment, the successful position it has at the moment. And that included overnight hitting the command center of the elite Quds force in Tehran. I'm not sure they're using that word elite quite right, to be honest, but that's what it says on the brass plaque above the door. At least that's what it used to say before the door got blown up. Yeah, it's all good news, frankly, and that's despite obviously the context, as we mentioned, of course, with 24, I think, is the total of Israelis that have so far lost their lives as civilians since this part of the war began on Friday. So that is significant, but it's it's the context that is relevant, and I think. Realistically, if you're honest and objective, you cannot expect zero casualties. And of course, day by day, with that aerial superiority, with that ability to take out missile launchers just as they're about to launch, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show, those 20 that were taken out last night, you are gradually going to see fewer and fewer missiles. And it seems that each barrage does seem to contain less than it did previously. That's a new good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this ability of Israel to fly over Iran and take out the facilities that they need to take out is hard to overstate. It's so important in terms of guaranteeing the safety of the Israeli. And of course, as Richard pointed out, still people have lost lives because it's a bit of a numbers game, unfortunately. The Iranian throw lots of missiles, ballistic missiles, which, by the way, are not guided. So they are pointed towards the direction of Israel. They more or less can decide roughly where they get, but clearly they're not very good, thankfully. So they seem to be hitting around Tel Aviv. I don't know whether they haven't quite got the balls to target Tel Aviv itself because they know that there's going to be a massive retaliation if that happens, or whether they're really so scared about overshooting. I mean, we were talking a few miles. They have to hit a strip of few miles from the distance of 2,000 kilometers. So it's a difficult task for a bunch of baboons who can barely read and write. And of course, these missiles are effectively glorified rockets from Hamas. They have a longer range, but all they do, they point them and fire and then fall where they fall. They are not guided, sophisticated missiles like some of the Russians use. And of course, again, the fact that Israel sometimes gets unlucky and some missile makes it through means that there are casualties on the ground. And more than casualties, also the physical destruction of infrastructure and buildings. But this time, looks like part of the former embassy in Tel Aviv has been hit, the US embassy I'm talking about, which should really prompt our friend Donald to actually do something about it. He said that if the US is attacked or involved, he would put the might behind Israel. So come on, Donald, come on, let's see the color of your money. Get out and help Israeli. I mean, to be fair, looks like some of the fuel tankers, the flying ones, are already moving towards the Middle East. And that's only good news because it means that the IDF can reach even further, risking less and less by being able to refuel the jet midair. So it would make the missions a bit less dangerous for the pilots of the IDF and a bit better in terms of reach towards the further corners of Iran itself. So we are hoping for Donald Trump to hold on to his promise and threats. Let's hope it goes well because it's only with the American support that you could wipe out the facilities like Fordo, which in itself is a legal installation that the Iranians should have never actually had. And also, I also would like to ask people, how many countries have you heard complaining about the attack on civilians in Israel? Because the Iranians are literally pointing and shooting. They don't care if it hits a school, an hospital, or whatever, while you see that the Israelis are again performing surgical strikes on the targets that they want to get. Even when they hit a member of the regime, you see that the building where they live has been hit just in the flat. And of course, there is a massive, incredibly minimal collateral damage. But the Iranians don't care, and nobody seems to care about the fact that Israeli civilians are under constant attack. I wonder why.
Yeah. Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that before. Like Putin has been doing the same thing, right? Targeting civilians almost, well, not since day one, but very quickly into war with Ukraine. Now he at least is, the International Criminal Court is going after him. I cannot wait for a warrant for Khomeini from the International Criminal Court. But yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, this idea that people like I've seen this a lot that Israel is using human shields because they have their like military buildings inside of Tel Aviv. And here is an important thing. Israel cannot use human shields. What human shields means is that the other side doesn't want to kill your civilians, so you put your military infrastructure on top of civilians or close to civilian infrastructure, so you have something to put against the other side. Iran doesn't care about that. Iran wants to kill civilians in the same way that Israel couldn't use human shields because Hamas wanted to kill civilians. There is no human shields unless the other side cares about not killing your civilians. Iran is targeting civilians. Iran is directly going after them. They are not hitting specific military infrastructure. They are not. They are simply sending ballistic missiles and just hoping for the best, hoping to hit anything they can. They cannot even target properly. They cannot even target military infrastructure because they do not have the ability to specifically target something. They are just sending it and they are hoping that it will kill civilians. That is their thing. That is what they are doing. Now, some more reports, although I don't know how credible this is, but apparently advisors to Khomeini are in talks with Russia about asylum in case the regime nears collapse. Now, I'd love to see it because there is almost zero way of them getting out. They're definitely not getting out on a plane or anything in that. And although after the regime falls, I'm not sure. I think we should still take him out, but it wouldn't be as important to do it after. But it definitely needs to happen before. Apparently, also Erdogan is saying that Turkey is ready to mediate, which I'm sure that's a great nation, a nation that has cut all relations with Israel, that has been calling it genocide since day one, that has been training Hamas terrorists on their land. Yeah, that's a great, that's a great country to mediate. And also, apparently, according to AFP, Pakistan has closed its border with Iran. With friends like this, you don't even have to do anything else. So yeah, Razzie.
Yeah, I mean, I heard there's some apartments empty in the building where Bashar al-Assad lives. So yeah, but they can be neighbors. I mean, look, I'm sure Israel can probably target apartments in St. Petersburg as well, or wherever that is. Alexis asks, who will play Razzie when they make a TV series of the post-October 7th entire war? Um, Obviously Mark Pellegrino. I mean, if it's made by Hollywood, it has to be somebody white, so I think it should be Mark. Thank you, Jonathan, for another super chat. Thank you, Peter, for the super chat. Peter says, thank you, Israel. Yes, and Peter, thank you for another super chat. Peter says, thank you, ARCUK. Thank you, and you're welcome. And yeah, absolutely, the world should be thanking Israel, and some of it is, but not enough. By the way, that TV series, I see that we have 361 people watching live and 75 likes. So, yeah, as things stand, that TV series will be made by Iranian television, and I don't know who's gonna play me there, but I know actually there's the one guy who always plays the I don't know his name. Maybe somebody can say in the chat. You know, the actor who always plays the Iranian um bad guy in shows like the like bad guy leader, not bad guy soldier. Anyway, um thanks, Christian, for the super chat. Christian says, "Is your new time 1 o'clock? 1 o'clock your time? You mean that's one of the times? No, we have a noon UK time and our usual 5:30 UK time. We're not doing the Daily Objective and the reality show as separate shows. We're just doing the Daily Objective, but it's much more like the reality show, both in number of people and the time it lasts. So yeah, you can tune in twice. Maybe Daniel suggests a name, and I don't remember if that's the right name. A couple of other things I wanted to mention. Yeah, there was a drone that flew to Caesarea in Israel today. Caesarea, for people who are wondering why we're talking about this small town of mostly rich people, is because Netanyahu has a home there, and this is the second time. The first time they hit the home, but he wasn't there, and it wasn't a. I don't think he would have anything would have happened if he had been. But yeah, they're trying to assassinate Netanyahu, and I like it. I like it if they're unsuccessful because look, this. What more excuses do you need? I mean, enough. Just do it. You probably know where he is, and by where he is, I don't just mean the general area. I mean the room in the house or bunker right now. So just do it. And yeah, he is probably in a bunker, as you mentioned, Richard. But yeah, so was Nasrallah. Th those are not foolproof. Um, there's the issue of the refugees. Yeah, Israeli refugees in a sense. I mean, they're not refugees in the sense that they escaped as soon as the war started, but they're stuck outside of Israel. It's weird to call them refugees, in part because when we think of refugees, we think of like third, fourth, fifth generation people who, whose great grandparents happen to live in Syria, so they're somehow Palestinian refugees. But yeah, there are the growing number of Israelis, and I see this is the thing maybe that bothers me the most. And I have people close to me who are among those refugees. I see, you know, um, people in Israel complaining about it's taking forever to restart flights, and then they're talking about once they do, it'll be 2 flights an hour and only during the daytime. And I really hope they're not going to do that. There's going to be discomfort, and this is one of the discomforts that you're going to have. What you don't want is to fly and for Iran to shoot 100 missiles because this is their chance to blow up a plane right above Tel Aviv and many hundreds will die. Do not restart those flights until you are sure that Iran has no capabilities. And again, for Israelis, it's annoying, so they want it to restart as soon as possible. And I hope it doesn't, because I know that if it does, unless Israel actually can somehow take out whatever is left quickly, which I don't think it's going to be that quick, the only way the airspace opens soon is if there is the diplomatic solution, which means it's only postponing Iran fulfilling its promise of wiping out the state of Israel. So yeah, live with the discomfort wherever you are, for a month or however long it lasts, and remember, you will be coming back to a safer country than you've ever lived in before, unless you've lived outside of Israel. Thank you, Archimane, for the super chat. Archimane says you all do great work. Thanks. Thank you. And thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Richard.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to super chats wherever I can. So thank you for those words of encouragement. And as for Alexei and his question about who should play Razzie, I'm not sure I can answer that, but I can't stop visualizing Animal from the Muppets. Do you play the drums, Razzie? No, never mind. On more serious matters, I think I wanted to ask a question of our super chatters and of our audience, because somebody recently in the last day or so had this quote. They said that we should give diplomacy a chance and open the way for negotiations and dialogue. Now, who do you think said that? Do you think that was Ursula von der Leyen? Do you think it was Donald Trump? Do you think President Macron said it? Maybe the leader of Qatar? No, that was the Iranian president. Now, if you can't tell the difference between what the Iranian president is saying and all of those Western leaders, then you seriously have a problem. And of course, people like Ursula von der Leyen aren't going to quote the other stuff that the Iranian leaders say. They're not going to quote the death to America, the death to the Jews stuff, even though that's part of the same ideology. That's part of what this diplomacy is talking about. You're talking about diplomacy with people who make those comments. You're not going to talk about the fact that the supreme leader, whose job title just always makes me want to snigger. But anyway, the supreme leader who back in October, when he appeared for the first time in 5 years, was quick to say that Israel won't last long. Are any of those Western leaders reporting those words? Are they imitating those words? No, they're not. But they are asking for diplomacy with the same people who do spout those words. And of course, the idea that Iran is threatening at the moment that it might pull out of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Well, that really counts, doesn't it? I mean, they've actually been, creating nuclear weapons, haven't they? Supposedly they're mere days or weeks away from having 15 nuclear weapons. So whether or not they're in or out of the non-proliferation treaty and got a piece of paper to show so is utterly irrelevant. And anybody saying, "Oh well, they might pull out," is missing the point, to say the least. I think, and then of course you've got what Russia is saying. For example, Russia is offering to be an impartial arbiter, and of course even Donald Trump has been repeating the notion that Russia has offered to be an impartial arbiter. But this is the same Russia that back in January signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement with Iran that was brought in only a couple of months ago, which is it's not a mutual defense pact, but it is talking about shared military threats, talking about defense and security and technology cooperation, talking about cooperation on counter-terrorism, which means counter Mossad and counter the West, of course. So they're the independent arbiters you want to negotiate with Iran, are they? Again, that would be utterly ludicrous. They're the same people who are trying to bypass the Western sanctions, those sanctions that, for example, Trump brought in again more strongly with his executive order when he came back into office, and that has helped, trash the rial even further, put pressure on the people of Iran to overturn their government and to work towards the freedom that we would like to see for all people.
Yeah, and this wasn't. I mean, the job of supreme leader, which, as Richard pointed out, is a ridiculous job title. But fun fact, there actually used to be a deputy supreme leader. A supreme person is not as supreme as the supreme leader. But because this regime is so rotten and corrupt, they decided, the supreme leader decided he didn't trust the deputy supreme leader. So now the job description of the deputy supreme leader is the supreme leader. So he's supreme leader and deputy supreme leader of himself, just to, we're a bunch of buffoons. But yeah, going around the web right now, I've seen all sorts of speculation and news and stuff. And an interesting one was that apparently there's been a big assassination in Tehran. Looks like one of the regime has been taken out. Of course, it's not confirmed. There's lots of stuff going out at the moment, so it's very hard to see what it is. But I wouldn't be surprised if people on the ground started organizing themselves and started taking out the regime. As Razzie pointed out, the people, the Iranian people, have to come out and start taking their country back. They've been suppressed by the regime for 46 years now. And those who still remember the days where freedom was, not everywhere, but at least available to every citizen. If they don't come out now and get rid of the people that have been kept slave for the last nearly 50 years, well, this is a great opportunity to do it. So we urge everyone in Iran, push a bit harder, trying to take your country back and get rid of these monsters that all they want is just allow their own people, their own group of elite to survive. They don't care about the population of Iran. They just want to survive. And we see now how they behave. They're hiding in the bunkers and asking for asylum and all this kind of stuff. And then, Tehran, should be destroyed. Well, the Tehran that supports the regime should be destroyed. All the people that work for the regime should be destroyed. And they should make a decision whether turn their back to the regime or, again, disappear together with the regime. And again, I hope Donald Trump gets involved. I hope America starts taking a serious position in this war, because the other options, diplomacy, would mean to effectively forget the victims in Israel, forget all the work and the risk that the Israelis have taken until now to get to the stage, and thus turn it back, ignore it, and allow the regime to survive. That would be a massive betrayal of everything that's happened until now. So it would be nice if Donald Trump helped Netanyahu to make Persia great again.
Daniel.
Yeah, I'm still kind of sort of like split on Trump because I hope he gets involved and doesn't gets involved. You know, I don't want him involved diplomatically. If he gets involved, it should be militarily only, which is what is sort of like weird about the way he's been speaking about it this whole time. It's still pretty much non maybe not necessarily 50-50 because 50-50 means you have some basis to even make for where he's standing. But yeah, it's been all over the place, so we are not sure. Now, I think I'm not sure if Marco or Richard made a point about the deputy supreme leader, but of course you can't have a deputy supreme leader because every single when you have an heir, when you have somebody next in line, that's a threat to your position in a dictatorship. You cannot have somebody already ready to lead after you. That is a threat to power, and that is the nature of dictatorships. They need to hold on to power for power's sake. There is no other reason or justification to need it. You just need to have it. Uh, you need obedience from your people, not from for something specific purpose, but for the purpose of obedience itself. And you have people in the chat, and I have seen it all over the internet. People saying Iran has a right to defend itself. Saying Iran has a right to defend itself is saying like somebody who's beating their spouse has a right to defend itself against police when they come in to arrest him. It's ridiculous. Iran has no legitimacy to exist. Iran has no reason, has no legitimacy to exercise any sort of right. Now, countries do not have a right to defend themselves. What countries do have a responsibility to protect the rights of their citizens. That is not Iran's goal. Iran's goal in existence is not to protect the rights of Iranians. Their goal is to simply oppress both their own people and start aggression towards people around the world. Because when you don't care about your own citizens, you have no reason to care about citizens abroad. Now, some people also are recommending we should listen to these guys, cover these guys, respond to these guys. And in the last few days, I really do not want to listen to anybody because I don't think I could handle somebody giving their opinion on this conflict right now because I don't think anybody else has even appropriately a right opinion on this, and I would probably go crazy if I listen to somebody like Dave Smith.
What? Who are we being asked to listen to? Is it like Piers
I
Morgan
think he
stuff
said
style people?
what?
Like commentators like
Yeah,
Piers
yeah.
Morgan?
Somebody recommended Scott Horton, which is apparently another like historian.
I mean, I've seen stuff that let's put it this way, if there was, additional bandwidth here, maybe we would get to, and I think after this is over, they will have their day in the court of ARCUK opinion. But yeah, I mean, doing a show now about, Owen Jones hates the Jews. We know that Owen Jones hates the Jews, and we're going to talk about Owen Jones more when his fantasy of seeing the job that Hitler started being finished right in front of his eyes is um, is gone. But I enjoy some of the trolls in the chat, more now than I typically do because they are really, so somebody says, LOL, Razzie has lost his silly mind. I mean, wouldn't that be a good thing if that's, sounds like a good thing. But anyway, what do I know? Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, I was just watching footage of the 1979, the Shah leaving Iran. Will this regime go into exile soon? Um, that would be a grave injustice. No, everybody in it, it's absolutely right to first kill, the military leaders because those are the people who are an immediate threat to you. But everybody at the top should die and should die now. Now is, now is a good time. I think militarily, Israel, um, Israel has less to worry about in terms of how it operates in Iran. Of course, it has the defense of Israel to worry about, and that is that's on its way. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says, Razi, can we veto Morgan now? LOL. Um, We're definitely not going to talk about him. I don't see us talking about him in the next few days. Once this is over, maybe. I saw a tweet by him. I don't even want to comment about that. That's Anyway, yeah. By the way, on our second show today, which starts in less than 5 hours at 5:30, one of the people on the show will be somebody who was born in Iran right before the revolution, left when she was 8, and has some insights also from people there. That's gonna be super interesting. We're still gonna cover what's happening, but we will be talking to her on that show. Make sure you tune in. And yeah, avoiding civilian casualties is something that is definitely different in Iran than it is in Gaza, where there are no innocent civilians except the children behind whom their parents are hiding. Here. Yeah, I see the value in going out of your way, especially if you can so easily target people in, their bedroom, their side of the bed kind of accuracy. Um, because yes, the day after, matters to some extent. I think it doesn't matter that much if Israel really finishes the job. But yeah, if in Syria you had al-Jolani or you know somebody who's somewhat Western as an option, you would try to move things in the right direction. In Iran, you have that. So Syria is not a threat, but it's more likely to be a threat than it would be if it had a semi-free country or semi-pro-freedom leadership. So yeah, I see the value in that. I don't see the long-term necessity of it as this war goes along. If the Iranians don't rise up against their government, the more chances they get. Then again, the crackdown, this is a dictatorship. The crackdown has begun. Iranians are, under attack from their government. The government doesn't have the resources to do everything it wants in Israel, but it still manages to keep oppressing its own people. By the way, another thing that we're not going to show, but if you look at some of the stuff the Iranians are putting out there, it's AI videos of like Ben Gurion Airport completely destroyed, and it's not even good. Like, who's doing your AI videos, people? Anyway, and you see it shared. And so yeah, you see it with the trolls in the chat. You will see it on X if you go there and look at some pro-Palestinian, pro-Iran, or generally just anti-Israel uh, accounts. One other thing is that something I saw about Russia, and I'm not entirely sure this is a correct report. That's a thing that we have to say with a lot of reports, is that Putin was talking to Trump. He asked Trump to stop this. Trump said, "I'm not going to," and then Putin said to the Iranians, "Try to get a deal." So yeah. If bad guys are trying to get a deal, I mean, Putin is worried. Things haven't gone well for him in Ukraine in the war that he started there. It hasn't gone well for him in the Middle East with all the dictators he's basically propped up and kept alive in Syria, now in Iran. Uh, China is unhappy. We've been saying this long before October 7th. If you actually stand up to tyranny and evil and don't try to find a middle ground with it, it will crumble, and it is. So let's enjoy the moment.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just to quickly jump in, you can really see the domino, right? Going through Hezbollah, Syria, now Iran, Russia. This will go, not to mention, North Korea is propped up by both China and Russia to a large extent. Once both Russia and then China get dealt with, I think North Korea won't be able to stay alive for much longer. And what is there after that? Then, well, we already were in a scenario where most of the bad guys were wiped out, and we managed to fumble that. So never let bad philosophy, or sort of never hope that bad philosophy will not let you come back into bad ages. But yeah, this is now the chance, even with really bad philosophy of Western countries, for Israel to actually achieve what the West should have done a long time ago. I mean, just earlier, I think Marco, you mentioned that American embassy in Israel has been hit. Just to clarify, basically, I think it was like hit, like
Yeah.
close to it. Yeah, like it was. So there was no, there was like slight damage on the building itself, and nobody was injured. No Americans were injured. But there's something to remember. Embassies are technically U.S. soil, or American embassies are U.S. soil by law. So I already said on the chat, trigger Article 5, get Britain in, get France in, whether they like it or not. Although somebody clarified that Article 5 might not apply here. But even then, generally, Article 5 is like a really broad thing that you can try to apply in different scenarios. But I might as well try.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd like. Sorry to interrupt. I'd like to point out how much Russia and China must be rattled by these events, because they need Iran's stability in order to help to control the situation in the area. Russia, of course, has got lots of trading with Iran. The few power station that Iran has got, I think one, in fact, one operating one, is a Russian one, and they were building another couple of them in the last few years. China, of course, is the biggest purchaser of oil from Iran. Iran, which is under sanctions. So Iran is making money from Russia. Russia is using Iranian oil in order to produce the solar panels that we so eagerly buy from them. So they are worried that an unstable Iran, or God forbid, a democratic Iran, would actually means that their reach across the world will be seriously weakened. And they're worried. These people, these dictators, are taking notice of how easy it is to knock down a dictatorship like the Iranian one, which seemed so solid and pervasive that nobody could touch it. They are shaking their boots, and it's a great time now. If you are anywhere in Russia, okay, the Russian people never really knew freedom ever in history, but if anyone in Russia would like to topple Putin, anyone in China decide to get rid of the dictators, the communist dictators, that's a great time to do it.
Richard.
Yeah, not to mention, of course, that the Iranian drones that have been used in Ukraine by Russia. And of course, if Israel is taking out some of those Iranian drone factories in the course of their operation here, that can only benefit Ukraine in the fight against Russia, and that's a good thing too. As well as, of course, all the military cooperation and the military sales that take place between the two of them. It tends to be a bit of a barter system, doesn't it, between these kind of dictatorships? And of course, or if you can stop the ability for one to trade with the other, then you can certainly lessen the other in the process, which is a good thing. One of the evidences that Russia is worried is the fact that it has just supported Iran in calling for a meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Now, who supported Iran in this? It's been Russia, China, and Venezuela who supported this meeting. So you're on the right team, aren't you? You know which team you're on, at least, if you're with Russia, China, Venezuela, and Iran. But of course, that's all under the banner of the UN, which of course exemplifies why the UN is a corrupt organization that shouldn't exist on principle, is flawed at source, because it is only giving legitimacy, or the perceived legitimacy, to these nations when they are on the back foot and are ganging up on Western world and civilization as a whole. Bear in mind, that's the same agency that only recently pointed out that Iran had managed to get 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, and when it shouldn't do. And of course, what's it done about it? At any stage in the past decades, nothing but paperwork, nothing but hot air, nothing but cover for the likes of Iran and its supporters. So all of that is evidence, I think, that Russia is certainly worried, and of course that's a good thing. we need to make sure that this progress that you're talking about, this set of dominoes, does continue and it's a firm achievement that needs to be culminated, at least this stage of it, by the toppling of the Iranian regime. Without that, it isn't enough of an achievement. So that's what we're all waiting for in what is hopefully a matter of days and weeks.
Yeah, somebody in the chat says, I heard Khamenei is in Moscow. I don't know, but if he is, I hope he's still looking up because in Moscow, it'll be somebody from around him. Yeah, if you think Mossad has no agents on the ground in Moscow, yeah, keep thinking that and don't worry. Yeah, Daniel, you said North Korea is being propped up by Russia and China. Yeah, I used to think that. Now I'm not sure if it's not Russia being propped up by North Korea, but either way, yeah, the axis of evil, as George W. Bush called it, although I think he left out some countries uh, for diplomatic reasons, is crumbling. So it's beautiful to see. What I'm worried about that we don't often talk about, we do talk about on this channel, but people don't realize I don't know if people realize the extent of the danger, is the enemy within. And the enemy within, in large part, certainly the universities and so on, are sponsored by the most evil countries in the world. The universities in the US are bought up by Qatar and who knows who else. Um, and their ideas are evil even before that. Like they don't need Qatari money to be evil. It just helps. It helps. It helps them with the applied part of their principles. And yeah, I don't. I probably wouldn't deal with them the way Iran is dealt with, but. I would like to see something done about that, and what really needs to be done about that is an alternative, and the alternative is things like what we do here. So, yeah, if you haven't clicked like, make sure you do share it. Part of the nicer things about the last few days is not just seeing Iran crumble, but seeing our views rise, and they can keep rising if you. Share, comment, like, and let people know that this is where they should get their war commentary. Like I said, we're here twice a day in 4.5 hours. It's war, so things can change. The only thing that's guaranteed is that the Iranian regime will be worse off when we're back here at 5:30 than they are now. Parting thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, there are Iran now reports there are explosions in Masdad city, and I kind of hope maybe Israel could make this app because we have the red alert, which is when sort of there's sirens might be coming. I think we need the blue alert when Iranian cities are getting bombed, so we get the both sides. We really feel also the good stuff and not just the sort of scary stuff. But also, I mean, one more comment on the sort of is Ayatollah, has he already left or not? People might remember when a few days ago when this was started, there was a plane was leaving, or the what is it the what is the state airplane of Israel called?
The Wing of Zion or
The
something?
Wing of Zion was leaving Ben Gurion airport, and everybody on the pro-Iranian side, oh look, Netanyahu's leaving, Netanyahu's fleeing, he's going to Cyprus, he's leaving away, and of course he wasn't. And you can see that this is a projection because free leaders don't leave their countries. It's the dictatorships that flee as soon as they can. It was Assad who left as soon as he saw that his regime is falling. It will be Ayatollah leaving as soon as he can get away with it. It's people like, as much as we dislike him, like Netanyahu, who actually does stay. It was people like Zelensky who stay even when the situations are not dire, because they understand that the evil needs to be confronted, evil needs to be fought, and that you can fight it because evil is impotent.
By the way, I love looking at the chat and seeing how many people are now members of the YouTube channel. That is very much in large part thanks to Michael Sweet yesterday doing to the chat, in a sense, something similar to what Israel is doing in Iran, but in a good way, and gifting 50 YouTube membership. So thanks again, Michael, and I hope you all enjoy it. One of the things that new members will get access to that you wouldn't have otherwise had is Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Eastern. You will be able to watch the members only live stream of our announcement of our big conference later this year. So, yeah, make sure you tune into that. Parting thoughts, Marco and Richard.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier the enemy within, and I'm sure as we cover the coverage of this war, we'll get a chance to focus more on some of those aspects, particularly when the actual military campaign is in its more advanced stages. But of course, a lot of that covers what the Iranian government was founded upon, which is the forging of two principles, that of Marxism and Islamism together. And many of those that we're seeing supporting the enemy within on the streets of places like London are those that support both of those elements, and at least the Marxism element for sure. Among the people gathered in Trafalgar Square a couple of days ago, you could certainly see many Marxists, including those wearing Jeremy Corbyn-style hats, for example, showing their long-standing communist colours. Those ideologies share a lot of similarity. People often assume that because communism is atheist, that it's not got similarities with Islamism, but it most certainly has. And I'm sure we'll get a chance to analyze and pull out exactly what those are to highlight why they are such two brothers of the same skin and two evils that should be fought.
There's a Jeremy Corbyn style hat. Like what?
One of those black leather things that
The
looks
kind of
like,
stuff that Lenin.
Leather.
yeah.
First of all, that's how you know you've made it. Like I'm still waiting for, mass protest with Razzie Ginsburg style hair and beard, but yeah, maybe not anytime soon.
Yeah.
Thanks Andy for becoming a YouTube member. Marco.
Yeah, I mean, just an appeal to the Israeli people and the freedom-loving people in Iran, and there are many of them. Just hang in there, guys, because suffering is not the normal state of life. You got a fantastic future in front of you if you just hang in there and get rid of these monsters that have been keeping effectively the world slave and in terror for the last 50 years. It can be done.
Yes, and yeah, again, what Israel is doing, as I said earlier, looks like what, maybe certainly the most impressive thing we've seen in warfare since the Six-Day War, but perhaps beyond. And yeah, that's why we are going to continue enjoying it on this channel. We absolutely are expecting bad news to be a part of the good news, or not a part of but come along as part of our coverage. But yeah, it is overall happy days, and they will be happier soon. So yeah, make sure you join us in 4.5 hours. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Marco and Richard. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And thanks, Crisp, for the last minute super chat. Crisp says, thank you, Israel. We'll see you again in 5:30 UK time.